Hi, and welcome to today's video where we're going to talk about exporting data from thinkorswim. My name is Kory Gill. You can find me on Twitter at Kory Gill. You can find the resources we're going to talk about in this video on the usethinkscript.com website. Just search for the article Exporting Historical Data from thinkorswim for external analysis, and I'll update the thread later with the new information we're going to cover in this video. The first step in capturing the data to export is using thinkorswim and adding a study to a chart, rather a strategy, I should say. And the strategy is named every tick, SOHLCP, which stands for symbol, open, high, low, close, and previous close, and take some parameters with the time frame we want to capture. Because since the trading day is, let's say 6-7 hours long, you can save 2/3 of the file size just by not having data you don't plan on parsing anyways. And we're going to take a look at the code for this. And I don't expect everyone to be a ThinkScript expert. And one of the things that was asked for was to add, besides the open high-low close data, is what if we wanted to put an indicator on there as well, like MACD. So what I've done is taken the code from previous updates to this and added MACD value and MACD average. And we add that to the name for the buy to open trade. And we have to separate all of our parts we want to parse out of our CSV file later with some character that's not included in any of the other data, so we can use this vertical bar character. And you can see we track the metadata we're going to capture on every bar as the name of the order. And we don't really care about the sell to close order. You'll see this later when we get into some of this. So we just concatenate these things through, and when we run this study, and let's just see here, we're going to run it on 3 days of 1 minute data just so we don't have too much data to parse, and the demo will go faster. We run it here and we can see it produces what looks kind of like a lot of busy data, because on every bar it's actually printing one of these strings. Let's just take a quick look at one of these here. If we just get in here on a couple. Let's not zoom in. Here we go. So you can see for every bar we're actually printing this metadata of SOHLCP, the symbol, so we can normalize this data, open, high, low, close. And I thought it was nice to capture the previous close, because sometimes you want to just calculate the change or something like this, and this gives you a way to do it without having to reference a previous line in the file. And here's our MACD values, the value and the average. So this is what it looks like. So what you could do is you just right click on one of these, and there we go, and it says show report, and we show report, and this can take a little bit. This is live, so not too bad when you only have 3 days, but if you do like 30 days, you can get up to 30 days of 1 minute data with TOS. And this gives you the report. We want to export this file. And we're actually going to save it in this directory here. So let me copy the name, and we paste that in and add that on, and we save it. And you can see here we have a file exported, this CSV file for ES. We can go ahead and close that. What if we wanted to do, let's see, what's another good symbol people like here? How about NQ? Let's do that. And it takes a little bit to load, and you wait till it stabilizes, especially if you're doing like 30 days of data. Same thing here, we do show report. Takes a second, we can do export file, and we go here and we load it, and you can see we saved this one. Let's also look at, an equity. Let's look at, let's do CRM. And instead of 1 minute data, let's look at, let's just do daily data. Let's do it. So if we do a whole year, Maybe that's not so bad. We'll do the whole year. Same thing. So we can show report and export the file, and going really quick here. And you can see we have CRM. This is daily data. Let's do another symbol here. How about Roku? Let's get this. This way we'll have 2 sets of each data. And we save that out here. All right. So that gets us the export into CSV files. So let's take a look at what these look like. Actually, just highlight all these and say open with code. And let's bring this window over here. So thinkorswim doesn't actually produce a true CSV file. A true CSV file would have just a header and the data. And you can see what it has is the open and close for every bar, for the daily data. We can see it opens a trade and closes a trade. And it's interesting that there's an issue in thinkorswim where sometimes it puts the sell to close trade first in the file and the buy to open second, which is kind of weird. But we only care about these buy to open lines because what we're going to do is we're just going to extract this data right here for the symbol and the open, high, low, close, previous, and these MACD values. And if we look at one of the 1 minute charts, remember we got that 1 minute data. You can see here's data from 5:01. What's interesting to remember is thinkorswim, when it does a strategy, let's go back to 3 day 1 minute, and let's find like the end of the day. It can only put the open and closing trade once a bar closes. So when this bar closes, it can actually put the trade here, and I do something in the code to get the future bar, and you'll notice that we captured data from all the way up to 1:14 Pacific time. So it actually depended on this next bar to actually capture this bar from 1:13. So you can't get the very last bar of the day with this because you need one extra bar to capture. The metadata looking back. So something to keep in mind that when we go through this data, if we just go to the end, you can see the very last time we have is 1:14 p.m. We don't have the 1:15 closing bar. So when you go to process this, just keep that in mind. So now that we have this CSV data, like I said, this isn't a proper CSV file, but there is some extra data in here that we might want, and we can actually extract this out and get the time frame that these files span. In this case, here's the 1 year, and the other one was 3 days. So we're going to run a script to go do this, and we're going to do it in PowerShell. And I don't expect everyone to be a PowerShell expert. We're going to walk through this and see how this works. So what we can do is get our PowerShell window. And if you just start with the Windows Start menu, we just run PowerShell. If you haven't run PowerShell before, you might need to open the window as an administrator, and you can run a command called set execution policy and give it execution policy, and I would recommend unrestricted just to let all the scripts run. You can look at the documentation for this, and once you set this execution policy to unrestricted, you can close the administrator window and just open a regular PowerShell window. And for this demo, I've gone ahead and gone to the directory where these files are at. GCI is get child items. And you can see here's our CSV files. And what we have is a PowerShell script that that I'll put up on the use think script site. And this is the thing that's going to get our data out and convert the thinkorswim CSV file to a proper file that has just the open, high, low, close data that we can use elsewhere. So one way to run it, I put some comments in the code for how to run this. know, he's going to do this demo. So if I go ahead and run this, I go here, and this is just my prompt. So you know, when you see this is just my prompt. So if we paste this in, I'm basically going to get all the files that start with strategy report and get their names, and I basically pipe this into our PowerShell script, this get sohlcp script, and this is going to do something interesting. Let's take a look at what this does when I run it. So you can see it's going through and it's parsing all the files, and if we look back at our directory, we now see that we have these new files showing up. And these files, you can see, they're considerably smaller than the files that thinkorswim gave us. And if we go ahead and take a look at these, open with code, here we go. So now, if we take a look at one of these files, like the ES file, we can see it's a proper file. It has the header, and then it just has all the data for each time. I started from 5 a.m. and the last date, the last time was 1:14 p.m. So we have our data. So now we can do whatever processing we want on the 1 minute data. And the file has a name. I've encoded some information into the file name, like the symbol and the start and end times, which could be useful when you want to save these files off and run this like once a month or something like this, and just go capture monthly data, and then over time you'll have a database of many years of data. And you can also use the look back stuff in the thinkorswim if you really wanted to go capture old data. And let's take a look at here. Like, this is the daily data, so you can see the same script that we used to get the 1 minute data gets the daily data, and we just capture the time. We call it just midnight. So it starts from 3/6 and it went to 3/4/2020, today's closing date. So we have that. So these are the files that we really want to parse. So this is how we generated them, and it was pretty easy, right? And there's some things in the script too that might be useful to take a look at. So you'll notice that we've encoded some information into the name of the file, and you might want to extract pieces of this out. You can use regular expressions to do this. I don't expect everyone to be an expert at regular expressions, but I put some hints in here on how to do this. So if we were to run something on a file name like this, we can see we can extract out the /es and the exchange it's on, the xcme. This can be useful when you want to parse some of the data out of the file name if you really wanted to know the time it started from and ended, things like this. And in the script I give you, you'll get a few hints like this. One thing that might be interesting to go over is if you want to learn regular expressions, a good site is regex101.com. Here we go. This isn't selecting for me. Here we go. This gives you a place where you can actually test your regular expressions. So if we had some string like this that represents the file name, we can actually look at the pattern of like what a regex like this does to see what matches it does. And you can see that, and it tells you what the capturing groups are in this and the modifiers, and you can see the matches are the symbol names, and the second match is going to be the times. So we can actually get the time frames out. And one thing to notice is because we can't have colons in file names, we had to replace the colons and the times with periods. And if we really wanted to, we can get those back and replace those back yet again if we wanted to for some other processing. So yeah, so check out this website if you need help with regular expressions. All right, back to the code. So we have our files. We have our the ones we exported from thinkorswim. We converted them, and now we can do whatever we want with them. And I will share this script with you, and I showed you how to run it. Yeah, so that's all there is to it, I think. Hopefully, if anyone has any questions, you can reach out to me on Twitter at Kory Gill, and I'm happy to answer your questions if I can. Post something on the use thinkorscript.com website. I can answer some questions there, and I will update this article with the new scripts and how to do this. Yeah, so one thing I said I think we're going to do was, you'll notice the, if we look at these files, we only have the open, high, low, close, previous close. We don't have those two MACD values, right? So I wanted to circle back and show you how we're going to fix that. I'm just going to kind of do this live and see if we can make this happen. So you can see we PowerShell script we run comes through here, and it knows how to parse the fields. Fields, zero based, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the last one is previous close. What we need to do is actually we can just add something here, and we can call it. Let's just call it the MACD value, and let's call this one MACD average. And we know that this one is the 7th item, and this one is the 6th item. And we need to convert those to decimals. There's because you want to convert this to strings, and then we can actually do the same thing here to export the object. Just doing this really quick to show you here if this happens live or not. And we can, we're going to run this again and see if this actually works. I'm going to save the file. And now I'm going to go through and where's my PowerShell window? Was here. And we're actually going to run this again and generate these files again. So we're going to go through here. We're going to delete these, and we're going to run this again. If you run it twice, it'll actually overwrite the files, but I just wanted to show you that new files show up. So now if we come back to here, it's going to if we go look at the CRM file, hey, look at this. Our values are here, and we have our numbers. Pretty cool, huh? That worked live in real time. Pretty good for a demo. Yeah, so that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching the Exporting Data from thinkorswim video. My name is Kory Gill. You can find me on Twitter @KoryGill. Thank you. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends, and if you have ideas for things you want, shoot me a message and see if I can do something about that. Thank you. Happy trading.